Hey everyone, this is going to be a quick tutorial on how to read and write files in JSON format from Unity. Essentially we're going to be creating this file. We have a float value here, we have a vector 3, so your position XYZ, and we have a string. If you're not familiar with JSON, lots of resources online. It's a pretty common file format and standard. Check it out. Alright, so away we go. This scene is very simple. I just made a save button, a load button, a script holder, and we drug our script onto the script holder, hooked up the onClick event to JSON handler save, and then the load button does JSON handler load. All right, so let's see what's in the script. All right, so you're going to need to do system IO that lets us read and write files. In here, we set our three values. So we have a float, a vector 3, and a string. We create a class called saveObject where we add our values into that. Our save function, essentially we are going to set values for the variables. So as you saw, like I had 8.0, these are just manually set. You can get them from however you set your variables in your project. We then add those variables into the class. We then use this JSON utility to convert those variable values into a JSON string. So at its core, JSON is just a really long string, and it formats things to add all those brackets and that stuff. And then finally, we write that object out to the application data path, save.txt. This basically puts it in the same folder as the assets. All right? And then finally, the load function just does save in reverse. So first we check, does the file exist? If it does, then we are going to set a string to the JSON string that we read in from the file. So it's basically going to read all text from that file. We then convert the JSON format into basically data. And then here we can access the data. We're just doing a debug log. So outputting the saveObject.test float is the float value. It's putting in that position value and then the test string. Let's see what it looks like when we run it. Actually, let me back out. So that file is already there because I ran it earlier. I'm going to delete it. All right, we'll click play. All right, so we'll click the save. All right, and now that generated the file. We need to click refresh to see it. All right, if we click on that, we can see it up here in the top right. It actually wrote that stuff out. And now if we want to load it, remember we were using debug to put it out to the console. So first it says loaded. So loaded, and this is the raw JSON string. So that's basically just a long string. And then finally it outputs those individual values. So as a float, a vector 3, and a string. You can do more. You can use arrays. You can use other variable types. And it's very useful. There's really no limit to how much data you can store. And then if you want to get really ambitious, there's ways to use this to communicate with web pages and things online as well, so you don't just have to save things locally. Have fun.